Hello guys, let's have a very short conversation about why I left a six figures well-paying job, well obviously, as a CEO of a company in Sweden. So first and foremost, this is not a name and shame kind of video. In fact, I have no negative feelings towards the whole experience. Everyone I worked with was great. They're all awesome, smart individuals, very helpful, very kind. The atmosphere was excellent. Our team was great. The product itself is awesome. I think it has a very bright future ahead. That being said, obviously there are a few things that I don't agree with, but again, this is not a name and shame video here, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. And obviously that's not the reason I left. I had agency as a CEO over the final product form, so there's no way I can complain that the product itself wasn't exactly what I wanted it when I left there. It would become eventually what I wanted to become if I had stayed. So why did I leave? Well, this is, I think, a great majority, if not 100%, on me. So I didn't set clear boundaries between myself and the company owner. So the company was small, it didn't have a board of directors, it only had an owner, myself as CEO, and a couple of employees. So that was it. One thing that's noteworthy about how I usually work with anyone is that I always give more than what's expected from me, and that's not to impress or something like that. I don't care if you notice this effort. I do it because it's right. I do it because I feel like I have to do things well, right, and I have to push myself as hard as I possibly can. So on a regular basis, I work a lot more than 8 hours per day. I usually work during weekends, and you might say that's expected from a CEO, but it's actually not. So if you go and become really technical about what the CEO is and what the job itself requires, it's a job. It's a job like any other. You work 40 hours per week. You have weekends. You have days off, and so on. Now, the Western society, at least in part, but I might be wrong about this, but it's very common in the West for a CEO to give all of their available time to the company. The CEO has become synonymous with the company itself in many situations, and there are obviously exceptional cases where the CEO is basically killing themselves working for a company. So one good example of that is Elon Musk. So the guy sleeps on the factory floor, but again, that's not what the board requested from him. That's not what he was required by law or anything to do. That's what he wanted to do because he felt it is the right thing to do. But there's a difference between voluntary effort and mandatory effort. That has to be said here because that's the reason I left. So during my tenure here as CEO, I'm not going to again name the company. It's based in Sweden, but that doesn't really help anyone. I did work a lot. I did maybe set some expectations, maybe a little bit too high. And I did get one week of vacation. So I took 1 week vacation to visit France, southern Côte d'Ivoire, with my wife. So I did that. I took 1 week off. However, because it's in my nature, I also didn't really set clear boundaries to employees and the staff. So I did join a couple of Slack meetings. I did direct the team remotely. I did do a couple of those things. At a certain point, the company owner called me on my personal phone, and that's where I decided I'll draw the line, because again, this was my only week off, and as far as I could see in the near future, so near future meaning 1 year or more, there was no other day off for me. The company was young, it needed a lot of effort early on. You have to be all hands on deck, you have to be all in. So I knew I was going to go through a lot of effort, a lot of zero personal time. So I wanted to set some clear guidelines there. So he called me once, twice, 3 times. The fourth time I answered, and it was a stupid discussion about how you should answer your phone and basically nothing else. So what a waste of time. I forgot about the incident, came back home, Over the weekend, obviously, I started working on some stuff, preparing the plan for the next week, even writing some code, the things I usually do. So I'm not, I'm very clear when I say this, it's on me. I didn't set good, guidelines. I didn't set the rules clearly for everyone. So I did make myself available basically 24/7. So that's on. Monday morning, he initiated a call on Google Meet. He meaning the company owner. And I said, okay, let's go. So I was really happy, really excited. I was looking forward to the meeting because I had prepared a lot, and we are making a lot of progress, and we are very, very close to launching. So very close to launching the product internally and play testing with it and everything else. Instead, he did something that was shocking to me. He told me to read a sentence. So that moment felt like when you're in school and you did something wrong. So the teacher comes and he tells you, she tells you, read the sentence, right? In a way that it's clear that he already knows the sentence, I already know it. So let me just say it again. And that sentence was, please don't call me on my phone during holidays. So I read the sentence. He was like, oh, that's not good. CEO should always be available to the board. You should Google this. You should Google how the board controls it. Look, for any one of you out there thinking that's true, it is not. It is factually incorrect. A CEO is a job like any other job. The only power the board of directors has over a CEO is to fire him or her, or it in the situation where you're having an AI running the company. We're not there yet, but we're not far from that. So the only thing a board can do is fire the CEO. The board cannot claim at the time or the biological entity, the body of the CEO to their liking. So at the end of the day, a CEO is a person, a human being, and as such, she has rights. And one of those rights is the right to privacy or privacy. I think I prefer the American version. Right, so that means the board, it's a myth. It's a myth that the board can and will contact the CEO whenever they feel like it. It's not. It's not true even in the slightest. In practice though, as it's often the case, high energy CEOs and highly driven people usually make exceptions to this, and they are usually easily contactable by the board or anyone in team whenever. Again, CEO like Elon Musk sleeps on factory floors and so on. But that's not a legal mandate. So they are not forced to that. They do that voluntarily. There's a difference between voluntary acts and legal mandates. So yeah, he told me, and this thing bugged the hell out of me. He told me with this attitude, I wasn't seeing an attitude. I was just very frustrated with the way things turned out. My expectations were here, but reality was here. With this attitude, I'm never going to be successful. I'm going to tell you this personally, if you're watching, you don't ever tell me I'm not going to be successful. We are not going to work together if you do that. So if you look into my eyes and tell me doing this, whatever, you're not going to be successful, it's over. I'm done. So I do not ever allow anyone to tell me I cannot do something. That's like rule number 0. I never allow anyone to tell me I can't do something. I can do whatever I want. So I pretended during the meeting that, okay, I'm okay with the phone thing, whatever, you can call me whenever you want. And then he said another thing that was like pummeling, like, that's not how you convince people. You cannot always win 100% of the arguments. So if he wanted to bring me on and convince me to call me during weekends, he should have pretended that he gave me some leeway, some exceptions. He could have said something like, look, this is usually the case, but for you, I'm going to make an exception. Let's keep it in certain intervals. But sometimes issues happen. Can I call you then when it's really, I have to call you because it's not my choice. It's okay. I would have said yes, because I'm not an insane guy. I'm not. Obviously, I usually go outside of the working hours. I would have said yes. Instead, so I'm coming back to where I started. He said, I'm going to call you whenever the hell I feel like calling you. So he got angry, he got aggressive, He told me I can not do stuff, and he told me that he's going to call me whenever he feels like it. And then he said that he usually wakes up at 4 in the morning. So what does that mean? Should I expect calls at 4 in the morning? Yeah, obviously I'm going overboard here. I'm sharing maybe oversharing some details, but the thing is, for someone with his skill level and his experience, he should have handled that better. That being said, it's 100% my fault. I didn't set clear boundaries. When the call ended, I consulted my wife on my decision to leave. She agreed. I informed the guy I'm leaving, and that was that. Know that you can set some boundaries, learn from my mistake, set the boundaries, set them early, set them politely, leave way for exceptions, because you have to do that. There are exceptional cases where, you will be compensated financially for doing those things. So leave room for hello, leave room for goodbye. That's one of the other mistakes I made here. I ended the thing so abruptly that I don't think he will ever contact me again, and I don't think I want to ever contact him again. I am happy, I'm smiling, but I didn't really at all like the way things were said and how they ended. This was an ad for his companies. Apply for the guy, he's awesome. Okay, thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully with some better recording, hopefully, but I cannot guarantee anything.